Hi everyone, Fabian Deacon, aka Empress Justice here. If you'd like to check out daily readings for the 1st of March, no, 2nd of March, it's new moon today, 2nd of March 2022, check out Twitter or you can check out my Instagram. I will leave the links in the description of this video. If you want to check out my vocals, you can also check out Fabian Deacon Vocals Instagram. I know I haven't uploaded in a hot minute. I will get to that when my cough clears, hopefully. Speaking of which, if my face looks kind of puffier than usual, it means I've had really bad sleep. Like, I went to bed really, quite early. I think I must have gone to bed at about, 8 or 9 o'clock yesterday night. And the thing is, when you go to bed early, you can wake up quite a few times in the night, especially if you've got kidney pains. Like, I don't know if it's kidney pains, but I get pains right here during the night. Like round the back, I get pains around here. And I also start coughing, and you have to remember, like, while you're still sleeping, during nighttime hours is when your body starts detoxifying itself. So it's for this reason why coughs are usually worse at night than they are during the day, or any illnesses you get are usually worse at night than during the day. The problem is that with the coughing and with the pains that I'm getting, and sometimes I get pains in my head as well. Now, the thing with that is, if you are kept in pain or kept in relative pain, because honestly, it wasn't that painful. It was there. It was just enough to keep me awake. When you're going through pain like that, you find other means to occupy and sort of, distract yourself. And when that happens, you can become overly stimulated. So on top of the pain that you're already going through, because it's usually because of the weapons, actually, because the electronic weapons, either they don't have that much effect on me, or they're fired on me just enough for there to be a specter of doubt. So it's usually never that serious enough. But what I will say is that when it happens, you can't really sleep. So what happens is that you get overly stimulated. You end up, you get overly stimulated, and then what happens is that you end up getting anxiety, your cortisol goes up. In my case, I dissociated a couple of times, but the thing is, it was not enough for me to have a full manic episode because I completely know what's going on at this point. I know that I've got electronic weapons being fired on me. I know that I'm going through pain. I know that I'm distracting myself by looking at the internet all night, like trying to get some junk sleep. Like, I know that what's happening to my body isn't coming from me. And then on top of that, I know the effect that the overstimulation and and underactivity has on me. So knowing all of these things, it calms me down and it makes me less prone to psychosis or manic episodes or dissociating. So whilst I can get small spells of dissociation, it's never enough to kind of break through the cracks because I'm well aware of what's going on. And then on top of that, I express my feelings a lot more now than I used to. So, with all of these things combined, it's relatively easy for me to nip certain behaviors in the bud before they start getting too much. But at the same time, when you're dealing with this kind of sleeping patterns and stuff like that, I really need to go out first of all, because it's, again, overstimulation, underactivity. It's not good. And it's not, especially not good for somebody who's mentally vulnerable. Yeah, that's the crux of this issue. And then on top of that, you're being attacked with electronic weapons as well. So the combination of those two things is not good. I've needed fresh air for a long time. Even though I've been opening the windows, I've needed fresh air for a while now. I haven't gone out because honestly, it's just become a habit. It's got nothing to do with anything at this point. At first, it was more to do with, targeting and gaslighting and stuff like that. But at this point, it's just become a habit. It's not you know, at this point, it's just become a habit to stay indoors. It's not something that I absolutely need to do. Like, it's not like I have a job or anything like that. And the readings I can always do in a way that's sufficient, that allows me to have the rest of the day to myself. Like, I can always do that. So at a certain point, yeah, what's responsible for my lack of sleep is overstimulation, underactivity, and the electronic weaponry. I don't know if any of that made sense. I think my sentences might be disjointed because, again, weapons are being fired at my head. I wanted to talk about the Ukraine situation as well. Once again, Black people are being gaslit into saying that we're making everything about race, because that's what always happens. People are racist, openly racist, and then they want to tell us that we're making everything about race. Like, at this point, I'm bored. If you're going to be racist, then don't try to hide the fact. Like, don't try to cover up your shit by gaslighting and projecting it onto other people. Speaking as somebody who's been subject to racism quite a bit, it's not actually the racism that bothers me. It's the fact that you're racist and you're trying to act like you're a good person after the fact. It's the fact that you're racist and you don't stand in it. It's the fact that you're racist and you don't accept the consequences of being racist. It's the fact that you want to dehumanize somebody according to their skin color and you don't want to deal with the after effects of having done that. To me, it's just cowardly, and it's not noble, and it's not honorable. It's not honorable to be racist in the first place. But if you're going to do things like that, I mean, at least fucking own your shit. You know, if you're going to leave Black people behind in a fucking war zone, like in a country that you didn't even want them in to begin with, don't be surprised when the whole world ends up turning a critical eye towards you. Like, no, nobody owes you to mollycoddle you and say, oh, it's okay that you're racist. No. And stop acting like it's about women and children. Like, we all know it's not about that. Because there are plenty of African women and children out in the cold. There was a 2-month-old baby in one of the videos that I uploaded on the Fabian Deacon channel. I took it down now. But there was a 2-month-old baby out in the cold with the mother. Don't try it. Don't try it with me. I'm not having it. Like, don't try it with me. If all lives matter, then fucking prove it. All lives matter until they have to matter. Have you ever noticed that? All lives matter until they have to matter. I'm sick of this shit. I'm not going to be gaslit as a Black person. And I advise all Black people, don't allow yourself to be gaslit by anybody. And fucking don't allow it. Don't allow the manipulation. We all know what's going on. If I had my way, that, it wouldn't be according to race. But we don't live in that type of world. We live in a world that's full of reckless scumbags who want to act like they're good people. So, yeah. It's just gaslighting. That's all that needs to be said about that. What else? Yeah. Whilst I was going through the sleeplessness yesterday or this morning, I wrote something on Twitter along the lines of, anybody who says they love to fight are usually full of shit. They don't like to fight, they like to beat people up. And it's true. I didn't realize that I actually love to fight. And I'm not talking about beating somebody's ass. I'm not talking about whooping their ass. I'm not talking about taking somebody who is an easy victim and making an example out of them. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about when I say I love to fight, I mean, I like to fight for a just cause. That's the first thing I like to do. I love to fight for a just cause. The second thing that I love to do is I like a fight that has some challenge to it. Meaning, I don't gang up on you with my friends and you don't gang up on me with mine. It means you have heart. It means you stand toe to toe with a person and you fight, and the fight is like borderline even, so that when you win, you know you've earned it. That's the type of shit that's the type of shit I like. Okay, I love to fight, but the thing is, I love to fight and feel like I've actually earned it. I don't like people who say they love to fight are full of shit. I always thought that I didn't like to fight. I always thought that I didn't even like harming people. Well, I don't, honestly. Not unjustly. But, when I was a bully to people, the fact that it was a cheap thrill was very, very acute. Like, I was very acutely aware from a young age that whenever I bullied somebody, I wasn't getting anything out of it. It was a cheap thrill and it did nothing for me. But I do love a fair fight. I really, really do. And I love a fair fight that is just. And for a just cause. I do love it. You know what I love even more? I love taking on somebody stronger than me and fucking winning. I love that shit. Oh man, there is nothing like it. There's nothing like winning a fight knowing that you've earned it. So all these people that say they love to fight, no, you like to beat people up. You like to beat people up. You like to dominate people because you're weak. Say the shit and go. Say the shit and go. I don't respect people who say, oh, I love a fight, but every fight you've ever been in, you've won because you've beaten somebody who was nowhere near on your level. Like, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. I don't respect that shit. But I realized too late that I actually love to fight and I actually love physical activity. And, because during the process, I fucking hate it. But the thing that makes me realize that I actually like it more than I thought is what happens afterwards, how I feel afterwards. I remember I've been in fights where I've lost. There have been people who are like multiple people on one, and yet I came away feeling that same exhilaration that I would have done if I'd have won. So for me, I love to fight. I don't care about losing. I don't give a fuck about losing. I love to fight. I love to do it. Even if I lose. But unfortunately, being 36, the only way that I can actually do that is to do it in the ring and to do it like in a martial arts class. And honestly, I don't really have the discipline for that. But yeah, I love a good fight. I love a good scrap. And especially when the scrap is just, and especially when I'm taking down somebody who has actual power. I love that shit. I love that shit. Somebody who has actual power, not somebody weak, not somebody that I think I can win easily over. Like somebody that I like, it's just somebody powerful. I love to do that shit. Somebody abusing their power, I beat them and I win and it was a fair fight. Yeah, sign me up. I love that shit. But at the end of the day, right, I don't like beating people up who don't deserve it. I don't like attacking people who don't deserve it. I don't like doing that shit. And for me, if I ever find myself doing anything like that, then it's usually because I've been harassed for months, or I've been because it's fraying your nerves. When you get harassed for a long time, it frays your nerves and it has an effect on your health. Like this shit is not, it's not a joke. Like you're fraying somebody else's nerves. You're ruining their health just so that you can have the benefit of bullying them every day. So this shit is not a joke to me. That's the only time when I'll be like, listen, I will beat your ass. Because you're ruining my health. You're ruining my mental health and my physical health. Because remember, psychological abuse, it wears away at somebody's nerves. It wears away at somebody's nerve endings, like literally. So if I'm saying, no, I will beat your ass, and it's clear that the person isn't as strong as me, the only circumstance in which I'm going to do that is if they're repeatedly harassing me and causing my physical health stress. That's the only time I'm going to do it. But for me, yeah, I love a fight, man, but it's got to be honorable. It's got to be honorable. You know, I have to come away feeling like I've won a just fight, or I've at least fought a just fight, you know. But, you know, I never realized any of this about myself never realized any of this about myself at all. And I wish I'd have known that sooner, honestly. I wish I'd have known that sooner, but hey ho. Yeah. But anyway, that thought came into my mind whilst I was going through sleeping problems last night. I mean, for me, there are times where I feel like the torture that I go through, or the physical stuff that I go through, it actually gives me the time to reflect on who I am as a person. And I feel like there are times where, like, being in pain, because the pain is always there and it's constantly there, you have no choice but to work through it. So I feel like it really gives me an opportunity. Pain gives me an opportunity. Physical pain gives me the opportunity to express myself emotionally, right? Because if you're not physically in pain and you're not outwardly suffering, like, you know, your bills are paid and there's food in your belly and you haven't come to any physical harm, people are less sympathetic and less likely to take you seriously if you're not going through anything physically. But the thing with me is that as much as I hate pain, going through the physical pain that this targeting has put me through, it's actually allowed me the space and the room and the opportunity to express the fullness of my emotions without feeling like I'm being judged. And it also gives me an understanding of exactly what my limitations are, so that I know exactly what I'm working with if I ever have to build myself physically. So me going through this targeting, it's a blessing in a really, really good disguise. Well, it's not a blessing, actually. It's not a blessing at all. It's a disgusting and inhumane thing. But for me personally, it's been a blessing in a disguise, you know. Which brings me to my next point about the realities of being a targeted individual and the effects that it has on you psychologically. The effect that it has on you psychologically is weird, because you're going through constant torture daily. You're going through constant torture daily, like daily, right? You're going through physical torture, you're going through psychological torture daily. But the thing is that whilst you end up subconsciously internalizing everything that's happened to you, there is this really weird realization that whilst you're going through this, you will never be your own worst enemy. You will, as a TI, you will never be your own worst enemy, because there is nothing that you could possibly do to yourself that could match weapons of mass destruction being fired at you and a whole community of people persecuting you. There is nothing that you could possibly do to yourself, no abuse that you could put your own body through that could possibly match what is being done to you. If you weren't being like openly attacked, then you could be your own worst enemy with the things that you tell yourself and the things that you internalize and the things that you do to yourself. But being a targeted individual, it puts you in the position where you're not your biggest enemy. You are never your biggest enemy. That's the interesting thing about it. So your mind is kind of doing this thing where it's internalizing all the pain that it suffered, whilst you cognitively realize and understand that you could never do half the stuff that is being done to you. You could never do that to yourself. But it puts you in a unique position, and it puts you in a I feel like that's why so many TIs don't suffer with that bite in their conscience so much. I feel like we don't really suffer from that bite in our conscience is because however mean we are to ourselves, we will never be that mean. We will never be that mean. Like, it's weird. But anyway, I gotta go. I think I might go out today. It's cold, but fuck it. I ain't been out in the longest. I need some time to think. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to upload my readings onto my Instagram channel. If you don't want to wait for that, you can check out justice_tarot at Twitter. Check out my Twitter page. It's justice_tarot on Twitter. Okay? So, you guys take care. I love you much. Take care. Bye-bye.